Hey guys, Parfax here, and today I'm here to tell you to stop listening to content creators. All right, let's get started. Now, I know that may be something that's very odd to hear from a content creator, but just hold on a second. We're going to get to my point. So what I want to talk about in this video is what's going to be BIS next patch. When someone says BIS, B-I-S, if you don't know what it stands for best in slot. It just means that if you have a piece of gear on, you do not want anything changed with it. BIS gets thrown around a lot in New World, and in most people's eyes, it means just like really good piece of gear. When in reality, BIS is just like you get that piece of gear, and until something drastically changes, that's exactly the piece of gear that you want. For instance, I put out a video about my fire staff build, and I have for me what I consider to be a full BIS set, with we having our critical retribution physical version resilient. Like I said, you guys do not sleep on critical retribution. I think I said critical resilient or whatever, but critical retribution, very, very, very good for fire staff, specifically next patch. We have like my elemental flame conditioning resilient, chest piece, so on and so forth. You can go watch that video if you'd like to. But the reason why we are talking about this is because the meta changes. And for all the videos that have been out there, there are many great content creators that have put out many builds, many different pieces of gear. But even if you go watch them, a lot of the content creators, including myself, have a little bit different definition of what BIS is. And this is even before we've actually played the patch. Now, I've played it a lot on the PTR. I know the numbers. We can see a lot of that right up front. But the problem is we don't know what people are going to run. Until you actually get everybody on the server running it for a period of time, you don't know what the meta is going to be. Now, for instance, one of the most important gear, and one of the most important gear that is going to get even an increase in importance next patch, is going to be your amulet. Now, the reason why I say that is because of the protection perk. We're not going to go into huge detail what the difference is from last patch to this patch. The big long and short of it is Fortify, it is destroyed. It got completely taken out. Whatever you thought Fortify was before, it is completely different. Now, Fortify just says you get increased armor, so it just benefits you as you go up in the tiers. You go medium armor is better than light, and heavy is better than medium for Fortify. So they split the Fortify and protection or absorption into two different categories. And it's really only one category. It's just armor has its own separate category. It always has, but we never really cared about it. So the reason why these are going to be so important next patch is because it is the biggest single form of protection that you can get. Now, it's pretty easy to just go ahead and swap your amulets around. You can get a fire protection one, a thrust protection one, a slashing one. There's a lot of different ways you can go about it. So this is going to be super important because it is a flat 10%, which is absolutely massive next patch. Now, this video isn't going to be going into what's BIS because I just said that don't listen to content creators. But the point here is we don't know what people are going to run. People could be running a ton of spear next patch. Well, if they're running spear split with elemental, then there's a lot of stuff there that could be good. I mean, the thrust amulet could be good, but they could be running a ton of different weapons, and the meta is going to change. No matter how many times we analyze the numbers, no matter how many times we do this, there is going to be a period of time where the meta changes. It also depends on whether you're doing war, open world PvP, or even OPR or 3v3. All of that stuff is going to drastically change. Bow can be absolutely cracked out in OPR and in war next patch, but it might not be seen in 3v3s. So when it comes to BIS, it really does definitely depend on what you're doing. You might be someone that is running, maybe full light armor bow. Well, maybe you don't want freedom, but freedom's a BIS perk, right? Well, it depends on your playstyle. It depends on what the meta is. So there's a lot of different factors into what factors into BIS. Now, when it comes to PvE, it's pretty self-explanatory. because those are just raw numbers. Now we can get into an argument of which weapon is the best and which weapon is the worst, blah, 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 blah. We're not going into that. But PvE is a lot easier to actually figure out what's best because it's very stagnant. There's no meta, right? We have mutations. We know what the mutations are, and we know what mob types are. We know what, all the mechanics and everything like that is very stagnant. So we can tell exactly what that is right off the bat, or at least with a little bit of figuring. Now, New World doesn't give us any tools to help us do that, but it's a lot easier to do. When it comes to PvP, the meta shifts. Even on my server that I've been on, there was a big bow PR. Obviously, everybody was bow PR. And then everybody kind of went to like a bruiser meta. Well, in a complete bruiser meta, the stuff that you might want to run to be completely different than if everybody is running bow. Now, of course, you want to have a very standardized build, but let's say we go a month down the road and bow's just not played very much. What if, for whatever reason, bow receives another nerf? What if musket's not played and bow's not played? Well, then a lot of the things that we know about or what we think about is going to be meta next patch. Maybe I don't want a thrust protection amulet. Maybe I want to scale more elemental because everybody's going elemental just because elemental is so good. Or maybe everybody goes away from elemental. You have, your bows and your melees going straight physical damage instead of scaling some form of elemental damage. So there's a lot of things that factor into what is best. So if you don't have a ton of disposable income in the game, or you just don't have the ability to grind out for a lot, make sure you are not just watching a video and then going out and buying pieces. Now, there's things that you can do. As you can see here, I'm on the live server. Now, I did open up my OPR crates because those aren't really changing. So I just wanted to see what I got. But you can start stockpiling your OPR crates to get better gear. We have war spoils and invasion caches that are getting a bump next patch. And when it comes to, I know I put a video about this, but your OPR stuff can be upgraded. So we have here medium chest piece with freedom, shirking, fortification. Next patch, I can upgrade this. If it's resilient, then we have a resilient, freedom, shirking, fort. I'd be like, Parfax, that's garbage. Shirking fort is garbage. Well, yeah, but again, we don't know. Shirking fort could get a buff, fortify get a buff. Shirking fort and fortify, they're completely the same because they both give you fortify, by the way. It kind of irritates me when people separate them. But fortify could get a buff in light armor. We don't know. We have freedom, refreshing, could definitely get resilient, and those are a crazy good pair of pants. So keep that in mind. You can stockpile gear, stockpile resources, but even on patch day, don't go too heavy into crafting. What I do is I save a lot of my gear. We can go here to Mountain Home, and I have just stockpiled a decent amount of gear that I don't know if I'm ever going to use. We have my Purifying Toast ring. We have a Sturdy Energy Freedom Resilient chest piece. We have a lot of different pieces of gear that could be really, really good. Like, for instance, Refreshing, Resilient, Empowering Breaker. Honestly, these gloves absolutely suck, but something happens, they make them really good. Hey, then I could use them. We have our Freedom, Refreshing, Ward, Resilient. Yeah, those are pretty good, but their dexterity, so who knows? But what if Heavy Spear comes around? And Heavy Spear is something that's going to be really good. Then, boom, we have a pair of possible BIS heavy pants. So stockpile as much gear as possible, stockpile as much resources as possible, and even when the patch drops, don't go too heavily in crafting all of the gear. Just get out there, get some, decent pieces of gear. We can go back to my storage here. We can go over, and look, we did get a pair of Resilient, Elemental, Aversion, and Refreshing Heavy Con Intelligence legs. A lot of people consider those very much BIS next patch. We will see, right? So just stockpile the gear, stockpile the resources, watch the videos, and you can watch them, but don't start crafting and getting all of your gear right off the bat from watching one video, because even in the period of time the PTR has been out, what people have said was going to be quote unquote BIS has actually changed. Now, if you're running light armor, I feel very confident in what you can do. You can watch my fire staff video, which will give you some of the other, gives you what my perspective is. Having said that, Duke Sloth just put out a video that is, exactly the same as what I said in my fire staff video. So there is two content creators saying that. But again, don't go out spending hundreds of thousands of millions of coins on gear right now because we don't know what the BIS is actually going to be. We can only speculate. So unless you are very confident in what you want to do, or just have the ability to, even if it's not BIS, go ahead and get more, I would save up mats and just wait and see. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Like always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you want to see on the next video. All right, peace.